Electoral Commission bites the bullet about the conduct of election 2017. New Zealand enters the fray on Manus refugees. And NCD PNG operators fearful of coming change.
This is National EMTV News with Meriba Tulo.
A very good evening. It is Wednesday and this is National EMTV News. Thank you for joining us. Papua New Guinea wants to work more closely with Qatar in areas of capacity building and investment opportunities. This, according to Prime Minister Peter O'Neill, when meeting with Qatar's Prime Minister, Finance Minister and other senior government officials on his return from the APEC summit in Vietnam. He said from humble beginnings, Qatar has diversified its economic base better than most resource-focused economies around the world. And while oil and gas remain the cornerstone of its economy, Qatar has made inroads into downstream processing and other energy-related fields, as well as leveraging its resources boom to expand the tourism sector and making substantial investment in agriculture around the world. Prime Minister O'Neill says as an emerging economy, Papua New Guinea must take advantage of new opportunities to expand and be resilient to cycles dependent on world energy prices. A delegation from Kumul Consolidated Holdings and other government agencies, as well as the private sector, are expected to meet with Qatar to discuss further opportunities on offer. The Papua New Guinea Electoral Commission today held a stakeholder dialogue to provide feedback to stakeholders on the 2017 national general elections. The dialogue engaged stakeholders on issues surrounding the national elections to seek their response to provide a report to the 10th National Parliament on the key challenges encountered and what the Electoral Commission proposes to improve electoral process in the future.
In 2016 to 2017, the PNG Electoral Commission developed and introduced changes and new procedures among its administrative and operational branches to improve and safeguard the 2017 electoral services. Electoral Commissioner Patlis Gamato says he is pleased with the outcome of the 2017 national elections, having intended not to fail any elections but utilize the appropriate and relevant provisions of the organic law on national elections and local level government elections.
No election in any electorate has been failed. Sufficient reduction of the number of petitions filed from 106 in 2012 to 79 after 2017 national election. So far, 10 election petitions have been dismissed by a court. Less violence in 2017 election compared to 2012. The cost of 2017 election significantly reduced. By end of September 2017, PNG had committed 212 million out of the 279 million budget appropriated for election operation, while the balance of 77 million is yet to be released by the national government.
The EC's report to the government on the 2017 national elections focused on its key achievements, major challenges and proposed actions, international observer report highlights and future administrative and operational initiatives. While the dialogue was accepted by those who attended, TIPNG's institution and campaigns coordinator, Yuambari Haihu, has said there have been major concerns about the recent national elections, especially with the loss of lives.
In this dialogue, we wanted to stress the importance of recognizing that lives were actually lost during the elections, that over 50 lives that we know of were lost, which is unreasonable for any democracy, particularly high for Papua New Guinea, giving us a rate of 2 deaths per member of parliament, a death per member of parliament every 2 member parliaments. We also wanted to commend the Electoral Commission for the report that they're releasing and giving to Parliament for endorsement, but to ask if they could also release the data from the elections report to agencies that might be interested in working with the data, like TIPNG, but also other international agencies like the UN and the Department of National Planning, who are convening a data stock-taking exercises, which would be useful for further analysis for the election data.
The Commonwealth Observer Group and European Election Expert Mission to PNG noted the lack of female representation in Parliament, the lack of clear procedures on electoral roll display and verification, people's lack of general knowledge on electoral legal frameworks, and the delayed release of funds to PNG Electoral Commission as having a negative effect on election delivery. Stacey Yellow, National EMTV News.
Climate change has a drastic impact on agriculture and food security in least developed and small island countries. This issue was discussed at the COP23 meet in Bonn, Germany this week. The discussion included world leaders and experts that made recommendations and emphasized that global food security can only be achieved through a coordinated policy approach. The discussions highlighted the need for climate change adaptation and disaster risk management to create a resilient food system for nations impacted by climate change. Meanwhile, 4 references from PNG will be used to formulate the Paris Rulebook, which will guide countries in combating climate change. New Zealand will spend $3 million to provide essential services for refugees and asylum seekers on Manus Island and Nauru, while still putting pressure on Australia to accept an offer to resettle 150 people. New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern revealed the spending after a second conversation in 2 days with Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull over Canberra's handling of the issue. Meetings have also been held by officials from both sides, and the Kiwis will begin work to expedite processing if and when the offer is taken up.
To reflect on the fact and are mindful of the fact that the only way resettlement in New Zealand can happen is via Australia. They hold the information. They are the ones who are presiding over the process. There is no other way for us to further this offer than via Australia.
Meanwhile, 12 New Zealand police officers are in the country to help the Royal Papua New Guinea Constabulary prepare for 2018 APEC meetings. New Zealand High Commissioner to PNG, Sue Maxwell, announced the arrival of the New Zealand Police Service officers recently. New Zealand's assistance will be specifically to build the capacity and of close protection officers during the 2018 Leaders Summit. 3 more will be arriving later this week. You're with National EMTV News. We go for a break now, and we'll have more when we come back. Stay tuned. Welcome back to National EMTV News. Taxi and bus operators are caught in between after the Transport Department's decision to improve public transport services in the country. Getting taxis and buses to operate and be managed by one company may just be the answer to some, while others are against the idea of having to operate under a single company. Both taxi and bus owners and drivers spoke to MTV News today, raising their concerns.
Taxi, which is good plan. Then we will improve this city. Taxi side.
That's one company money got money finish now. Got million. Lo running slag and service. No good plan. Now me blow donate Papua New Guinea. Me plan bangawe.
Lulu go back some 20, 30, 40 years time. All taxi driver now, all bus driver, especially all islanders. All got city. All been taking the initiative. Lo contribute inside lo public transport system lo Papua New Guinea. Which where government has been ignoring all. You know, one plus subsidizing this public transport since and before independence and after independence too.
Taxi number sa one a living room mebla. Also mebla no stala communist country no one man ba controlling mebla. So this la living room mebla. Some taxi company some mebla yet. But suppose government like stop him, at least I must be some road mebla long. How mebla buy stop because some city mebla put beginning law school. Because low bus, because low taxi,
or less low, this like I know some. All but make him low, so one black company or kind of same. All like all but around some normal loss around long amount. This time also working money, so I'm so kind thinking and miss him or all got about him, so I'm so.
I think you must give him some like 3, 4, 5 years time, all so he can try and cope up, now he can look somewhere. That is only arrange him, put him in place, all necessary good system where only can acknowledge him, all do he can amass, all can become part of this new system. But now yet me not think all by cooperate because still just like only stop inside the wilderness, only concentrate on providing public transport inside the city.
Man must work him when it's past time, me blow must clear on this la when again something or like make him all buses now, all taxis. Me blow no clear on all this la something yet. Like government must come out now, talk clear when they blow owners blow all bus now, drivers or taxis too. Me blow must have a good bus to and all make him right now. All it's like a daughter when again something or like make him blow foul too. Me blow stop. Me blow no clear on something.
Families residing in the Housing Commission blocks in Tokarara behind the National Housing Corporation headquarters have been given an eviction notice and 3 weeks to vacate the property. Residents say the eviction notice comes after the Housing Commission sold the block of land to a national businessman. Victims of the eviction are calling on Housing and Urbanization Minister John Kaupa and member for Mosby Northwest Semekere Morauta to intervene and save their homes.
Concerned as to what will happen next, remorse-filled residents and victims of the eviction who are staying and renting in the National Housing Commission building only have 3 weeks to leave the premises. Michael Hapita, spokesman for those being evicted, grew up living in the Housing Commission block and now has 4 children.
This property, mipla been stop long time, plenty blood, tenant stop year, all third generation now all stop. Coming up now, 30 to 40 years old been established. And some of us, you mean all new line, some all legal tenants. We have got a current tenancy agreement with NHC, some all line time, all housing corporation, losing time, mipla come inside, na come up nothing.
As parents and children gathered with signs reading illegal sale of property, stop eviction and many others, and not having to say much, expressions of regret on their face. Representative Michael Hapita says after receiving the eviction notice, taking the matter to court is an expensive exercise.
Now that mipla like pursue narpla court case lo side lo judicial review how it's law administrative process number been come up long mipla down through lo money na kind of so narpla has thinking where some government can look away or some all good all countrymen about all stuff long.
Mothers who lived in the area for 3 to 4 generations say they have nowhere to go.
Nol get all picking blomi all school. Man blomi to losing me. I mean no ara blomi log go to. Me stop this lao place me pilimos and this lam home blomi na me stop. All around me go now me stop here. Me no ara have go.
After when the land was purchased from the Housing Commission, plans to erect a fence around the block of land was stopped after an encounter with the buyer. Eviction victims say this may be another illegal land buying and are calling on Housing and Urbanization Minister John Kaupa to take action or at least make time to speak to the eviction victims on the status of the land before it's too late.
Mipla needing assistance for government must intervene. Mipla feeling was a minister blow lands talk seriously lo side blow our ground state ground work lo go out long suppose some seriously please must look lo.
Godwin Eki, National EMTV News.
The Taiwan Technical Mission to Papua New Guinea has been running training for small-scale farmers on ways to plant, manage and harvest local produce. This is done through their Farmers for Cooperation project, a partnership program between the Department of Agriculture and Livestock and NARI. The mission will organize a farmers' field day next week to showcase their food crops. Its main aim to market the farmers' produce to stakeholders who will be in attendance.
The Taiwan Technical Mission in PNG has been in the country since 2015. Under the mission is the project called Farmers for Cooperation. The project is a partnership program with Department of Agriculture and Livestock and the National Agriculture and Research Institute of PNG. The focus of the project is to help small-scale farmers improve their farming skills. The mission does this by conducting trainings and assist farmers with farming materials.
Like also seedlings, like you can see the rice seeds. Yeah, this time we harvest the rice seeds, and also the vegetable seeds, and also green shade for nursery house. Yeah, we deliver those materials and improve the small-scale farmers.
These women are hired by the organization to work on this rice field. The rice originates from Taiwan and has been in the country for more than 15 years. What was planted and is now harvested is the variety called TCS-10 long-grain rice. A hectare of this rice field contains 3,500 kilograms that equates to 3.5 tons.
Actually, we keep 2 to 3 varieties, TCS-10, TY3, and TK67. But this season we plant the TCS-10, It's one of the variety from Taiwan, and it's really suitable in Papua New Guinea.
The rice is being removed from the branches using this machine. They would then be taken to this site where it will be dried for 3 days to be used as seeds to distribute to rice farmers. The project technician Eric Ye Chung Wang says the training is not only for rice farmers but also for farmers interested in other food crops and vegetables.
But also like watermelons, sweet corn, and vegetable crops like bai cai and cabbage and cauliflower or leeks.
A field day would be organized next week to help small-scale farmers showcase and market their local produce. Julie Badui Owa, National EMTV News, Leh.
The Department of Agriculture and Livestock in Leh received a new vehicle to help transport DAL officials to visit and supervise farmers. Momase Regional Director for DAL, Nelson Bomo, said the department has lacked resources such as transport to visit farmers in isolated communities. The Mitsubishi Pajero station wagon was handed over to Leh's Department of Agriculture and Livestock by the Taiwan Technical Mission in PNG. The donation today is part of the Farmers Cooperation Project partnership between the DAL, NARI and the Taiwan Technical Mission. This is the fourth vehicle donated by the mission to the department. DAL's regional director thanked the organization for the partnership and continuing support. Moving on, as more and more Papua New Guineans are getting into fashion labels, a leading clothing retailer has partnered with an international label to have quality women's fashion available here in the country. Jacks of PNG today announced the arrival of the Isabel London range to its collection of labels available at Jacks of PNG outlets from today. Over the last 18 months, Jacks of PNG has become the retailer of choice for several quality fashion labels, both international and local. Today, it welcomed a new member, with Jacks of PNG announcing the arrival of Isabel London, quality high-end fashion for women in Papua New Guinea. According to Jacks of PNG Manager Corporate Business Yogesh Sami, the decision to bring the Isabel clothing range to the country is in response to a demand for more quality high-end fashion from Papua New Guineans.
You can see a lot of fashion shows are happening in the country. People are exposed to fashion now, young generation are exposed to fashion. So this is one of the young generation product which is aged from 18 to 35.
Due to this demand for high-quality fashion, Jacks of PNG has signed on as the exclusive distributor for the Isabel London range in the country.
Isabel London was one of the brands which we have found that it's more suitable and it's price affordable for everyone. So these are one of the brands which we have launched today. We have signed up a contract that we will bring this just like any brand you sign up, you have to sign up a contract. And in PNG, we are the only licensed merchandisers and retailers for this product.
With the addition of Isabel to its range of clothing on offer, Jacks of PNG is confident that business can pick up, which will add another dimension to the operations of this retailer. And if all goes well, Jacks is looking to expand its operations to centres outside of Port Moresby in a bid to make quality fashion readily available for more Papua New Guineans.
Definitely we are looking at opening up a shop in Leh and then moving out to Mount Hagan, Kokopo. Buka is also one of the locations we have selected. So not only in Port Moresby, it will be going across the country, and there's a lot of potential. We are just looking for the space in Leh for the first step out from Port Moresby, and also if opportunity comes us for open up a shop in Moresby, another store, we will definitely look into that too.
They say our eyes are the center of the human body, but for 18-year-old Levi Luke, living with no eyesight is something he has had to deal with since he was a toddler. Levi has not let anything stop him from living a normal life with his families on the east and west coast of Namatanai in New Island Province. Our reporter, Jack Lopauve Jr., caught up with Levi recently and files this story.
Blind but gifted, yes, Levi Luke suffers from an eye disease and is totally blind. But for Levy, playing guitar is as normal for him as his love for making music to those he can see. He says since losing his eyesight, the other senses have been helping him live a normal life like any other person.
Minsan ko batantem duai pasti me olo wara kabe. Wakal magin sa to kami master I'm just bleed lo. Sensim sawel sem prot ba gosem because but you want to be shocked about.
Levi Luke hails from Dabanot on the east coast of Namatanai. He was born with small lens in his eyes. Levi has not been assisted by any chance but says if anyone can help, he will be excited to go an operation to restore his eyesight. Levi is now living among his relatives and has been given the support. He is not the only one suffering. His elder brother is also facing a similar eye problem.
I passed the cell. I must have done something. I must nothing to let you. Minolgim strips on black, kilabi on black. Something is a man. Ihla lokato pata. Miaring got cell. Minolgim on plaman.
Music has been close to Levi's heart. Levi can play guitar as well as keyboard. He has composed over 10 songs but has not recorded a single hit.
I've been pastor now. Inakatuwa ko man bin sa okin. Guitar solo min sa puting plus limit okay mo ko biya. Stop okin busy mo na stop solo. I'm been also now.
Levi hopes to restore his eyesight one day and fulfill his dreams of recording an album. Joklopava Junior National EMTV News.
Locals in Kavieng town have established a craft market. Market coordinator Vicky Isana says the market is open to anyone who wishes to sell handicraft, even horticulture products. The market was opened recently and has grabbed a fair attention from visitors near and far.
The new Kavieng Craft Market is less than 2 minutes walk from the main market in town. Market coordinator Vicky Isana says the market is open to anyone who can use the facility during operating hours.
This market is for anyone from the other part of New Ireland to the other end of New Ireland. So we would like to encourage all get a line. Whoever you are, you can come and study more products here.
It's a small establishment to begin with, says the management team. According to vendors, the facility has created a drive for those who have been selling their crafts on the streets in Kavieng. Vendors have come near and far to sell the produce. Despite opening its doors recently, the market has drawn tourist attention. A range of crafts are on sale at the market. Even the local traditional shell money, commonly known as the mis, is also up for sale with other jewelries made from seashells. Vendors say finally a facility is being established despite little or no government support in the past 10 years. The craft market is into its 5th week of operating.
Whether you walk long office away, long time you can work with something and come selling and an extra income apart from your salary. But from mama, so this stuff full time the place, all house, and now market Promipla.
Joklopava Junior National EMTV News.
Australian-based PNG artist Joycelyn Leigh exhibited 52 pieces of her art paintings at the Royal Papua Yacht Club last night. The paintings depict PNG's environment, culture and traditions.
All made from water-based paint, artist Joycelyn Leigh, inspired by country's diversity, tells a story of both the past and present in her paintings. Much of the story is from what she remembers growing up in PNG. Displaying her art in the country for the first time, it is something she says she never thought of doing.
Well, the exhibition has a collection of 52 artwork, mostly watercolor, that I painted over a year. And I think the parts of it that makes me really proud is my own technique that I developed with natural pigments.
She says most of her work is put together using materials from the bush and remains of ash and fruits from the markets. Her paintings depicting the oceans, the mountains, villages, birds and village mothers all tell a story.
France and, the English can argue that they discovered watercolor because this is my main medium. I think that Papua New Guineans had all along knew watercolor, even before the Europeans discovered us, because we use natural pigments combined with water to paint our bodies, paint our grass skirts, paint, our houses. We did all that before we were discovered.
Joycelyn says observing the country's talents, many painters and sculpture makers are not recognized in the country, something the government really needs to look into.
I would really love to encourage artists to keep painting and creating and, making sculptures and even performances and all that, but we need governments and we need, companies and all that to seriously see it as a kind of employment, but also like entrepreneurial, contributions that can contribute to the economy.
She added paintings and sculptures play a significant role in identifying one's cultures and tradition, again calling on tourism to also look into helping local painters and sculptors. Godwin Eki, National EMTV News.
And now a look at the finance news. The kina closed unchanged at $0.3115 in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your kina was buying $0.304, $0.3947 Australian dollars, €0.254 and 34.13 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold is trading lower, while coffee, cocoa and copper closed the day lower. Palm oil closed higher, while crude oil is trading lower. Copper closed the day lower. And on the stock markets, the Dow Jones closed 30 points lower, the ASX 34 points lower, and the All Ordinaries 36 points lower. Here with National EMTV News. When we come back, stories making headlines overseas. Stay tuned. Welcome back to National EMTV News. Turning overseas now, smugglers in Libya are auctioning off migrants as slaves. CNN's Nima El Bagir went undercover in the capital and witnessed human beings being sold like cattle.
A man addressing an unseen crowd. Big strong boys for farm work, he says. 400, 700, 800. The numbers roll in. These men are sold for 1,200 Libyan pounds, $400 a piece. You are watching an auction of human beings. CNN was sent this footage by a contact. After months of working, we were able to verify the authenticity of what you see here. We decided to travel to Libya to try and see for ourselves. We're now in Tripoli and we're starting to get a little bit more of a sense of how this all works. Our contacts are telling us that there are 1 to 2 of these auctions every month and that there is one happening in the next few hours. So we're going to head out of town and see if we can get some sort of access to it. The town we're driving to isn't the only one. Night falls. Eventually, we stop outside a house like any other. Adjust our secret cameras and wait. Finally, it's time to move. were ushered into one of two auctions happening on this same night. Crouched at the back of the yard, a floodlight obscuring much of the scene. One by one, men are brought out as the bidding begins. 400, 500, 550, 600, 650, 700. Very quickly, it's over. And we're asked to leave. That was over very quickly. We walked in, and as soon as we walked in, the men started covering their faces, but they clearly wanted to finish what they were doing, and they kept bringing out what they kept referring to in Arabic as al-budaa, the merchandise. I honestly don't know what to say. That was probably one of the most unbelievable things I've ever seen.
Results are finally in, and Australia has overwhelmingly voted in favour of same-sex marriage. 61.6% of people agreed yes, the law should be changed. That's more than 7.8 million people. The no vote came in at 38%. While the yes campaigners celebrate, the next moves are already underway in Canberra to make same-sex marriage law.
In a collective national hush, at 4 minutes past 10, the Australian statistician calls time on the traditional limits to marriage.
Yes responses, 7,870,000.
Predicted, and yet for some still a shock.
Thank you, Australia.
For others, relief. And euphoria. Yes rallies across the country erupt as the numbers sink in. More than 61% want same-sex couples given the right to marry. The figure all the more persuasive because virtually 4 out of every 5 Australian voters cast a ballot.
This is outstanding for a voluntary survey.
The Australian people have spoken in their millions.
And in patterns that defy old ideas. Every state and territory returned a clear yes vote.
It is unequivocal. It is overwhelming.
Conservative MPs who championed the no cause overwhelmingly find their electorates voted yes. In Tony Abbott's, 75% yes.
A majority no outcome was recorded for only 17 electorates.
And 12 of those are in Western Sydney.
Of course I regret the decision of my fellow Australians, but I respect it.
The no camp cheered too for its leader as he acknowledged the loss.
It's been decisive, and I congratulate them on the campaign that they have won.
And to be standing here today with such an emphatic result that says yes to love and yes to equality.
Voters have decreed it. Now this fraught parliament has to enshrine it. Surely MPs wouldn't bicker over the issue now. Don't you believe it? Conservatives are already insisting that Senator Dean Smith's widely accepted marriage bill needs far tougher protections for religious freedoms, parental rights and the like.
The Smith bill is grossly inadequate in that regard.
I will want to see strong religious protections in that bill.
While others fear those protections would discriminate against the very people who today won some equality.
Australians voted for equality. Australians did not vote to licence more discrimination.
Iran's president has promised to help those whose houses have been destroyed by the powerful earthquake near the border with Iraq that's killed more than 400 people. Rescue workers have now called off the search for survivors, saying it's unlikely any more will be found under the rubble.
Iranian authorities say they're not expecting to find any more survivors. The work now is to clear ruined homes, demolish and then rebuild. Thousands are homeless and in desperate need of shelter and supplies. Iran's President Hassan Rouhani has visited the worst hit areas. He promised whatever assistance was needed and criminal action if any public housing is found to have been substandard.
We'll provide tents for those who need them and give loans and grants to all those whose houses were damaged and are unsafe. We'll give money to everyone who needs temporary accommodation.
At least 70,000 people need shelter, and the UN says it's ready to assist if required. And with nighttime temperatures close to freezing, it's not just the homeless who are sleeping outdoors. Many families won't return to buildings they don't trust. This was the moment the earthquake struck. A birthday party ends in terror. But this Kurdish family escaped unharmed, and northern Iraq was hit less hard. So Red Crescent groups there are offering help to their Iranian neighbours.
In case of any need from our Iranian Red Crescent brothers, we will definitely provide across the border the support they ask for.
Aid has been pouring in, and a combination of aircraft and Iran's special ambulance coaches are transferring some of the injured for specialist treatment elsewhere in the country. But the painful process of grieving and recovery for entire communities is only just beginning.
Here with National EMTV News, we go for a break now. When we come back, some sporting updates in Trukai Sports. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. We begin with the Women's Rugby League World Cup, and the oil search PNG Orchids were welcomed at the famous Sydney Opera House yesterday. Present at the launch of the Women's Rugby League World Cup were Oil Search Managing Director Peter Botten, as well as Acting Australian Prime Minister Julie Bishop.
The Oil Search PNG Orchids represent the women of Papua New Guinea as they embark on their journey in the Women's Rugby League World Cup. Oil Search Managing Director Peter Botten was speaking at a function at Sydney's iconic Opera House to welcome the Orchids to Australia.
And to welcome a group of outstanding, talented and committed PNG women onto the world stage. Welcome, ladies. They represent an inspiration to the millions of women in Papua New Guinea, and indeed the whole country, who can see a path for greater empowerment and a new future.
Botten says with the leadership from the PNG RFL and the Rugby League World Cup, the Orchids was formed, adding Oil Search is privileged to be the platinum sponsor for the team.
Although they're still young as a team, they have already become a beacon of hope for many who wish to change attitudes to women in Papua New Guinea. We want this amazing group of talented and dedicated women to be showcased around the world, demonstrating what the national sport in PNG should be the domain of both women and men, both the whole country following both women and men as a supporting group.
Acting Australian Prime Minister Julie Bishop says the Orchids will not only inspire women in Papua New Guinea, but will also inspire women in the Pacific region.
They will inspire young women in PNG to take up sport, to get involved, to be leaders, to become active in the social and economic life of Papua New Guinea. I don't underestimate how proud your families and friends and neighbours and colleagues will be of you as you take on England next weekend.
The launching of the tournament was done in spectacular fashion and has received the support of the Australian government and corporate backing for its historic staging. The Women's World Cup will be broadcasted live for the first time in Australia, New Zealand and Papua New Guinea. The Oil Search PNG Orchids will play their first match against England tomorrow. Elijah Levet, National EMTV Sports.
To football, and the 2017-2018 National Soccer League season is set to kick off next month. The country's top domestic soccer competition is set to start on December the 16th, with 12 franchises showing interest. The 12 include last season minor premiers Lay City Dwellers, runner-up Medang FC, Besta FC United FC, Morabe Football Association, Eastern Stars, Unitec, Simbu Rocks, Central Southern Strikers, Oro, Manus and Erama Gulf. PNGFA Senior Vice President John Wesley Gondruan said an important meeting of managers and franchise owners in Port Moresby next week and is urging all club representatives to attend, including representatives from Yamaros, PS United and Buang. We go for a short break, and when we come back, more of Trukai Sports. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. To football overseas, and the New Zealand All Whites have reached their final stages of preparation ahead of tomorrow's do-or-die World Cup qualifier.
The squad trained today at the Estadio Nacional in the capital Lima, where they'll play tomorrow in front of a capacity 80,000 strong crowd. All Whites coach Anthony Hudson says the side are at no disadvantage to play the second leg away from home in South America and backs his team to do the job.
This team is used to difficult situations. In fact, I would say we're probably more suited and more resilient away from home than we are at home because we're not used to playing at home.
Meanwhile, outside the ground, the footballing warfare has already begun among the passionate Peruvian fans. An indigenous shaman laying a curse on the Kiwis ahead of the match in the hopes of ending the South Americans' World Cup drought since 1982.
And that's it for Trukai Sports. When we come back, the weather details for the next 24 hours.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
A look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours. We begin in the southern region. A few showers expected in Kerma and Alta. Showers and thunderstorms expected in Port Moresby, Daru and Popondetta. To the Momasa region, a few showers expected all across the region with thunderstorms in Wewak and Vanimo. To the New Guinea Islands region, mostly fine in Kavieng, brief showers expected in Lorengau, evening showers for Kokopo, Rabaul, Kimbe and Buka. And in the Highlands region, Mount Hagen, Goroka, Kundiawa, Mendi and Wabeg, all these major centres can expect evening showers.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
And that has been the news, sports and weather for today, Wednesday the 15th of November 2017. On behalf of the MTV News team, pleasant viewing. Good night.